We believe that's mineralization that is likely to be leachable. So it's a very nice start near surface to what could be a copper oxide development after, of course, much more drilling.
Welcome, fellow investors. We're at the VRIC. It's the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference 2019 already, and I've got Steve Osterberg here from Timberline Resources in my own backyard. That's TLRS in the US, TBR up here in Canada. Steve, appreciate the time.
Yep, thank you, Rob.
Yeah, a lot going on in this room here. Timberline's one of those stories in this room. Why don't we go ahead and talk about in Nevada. We've got a couple of projects. Why don't you kind of lay out the potatoes for Timberline?
Yep, we are totally focused in Nevada with our exploration work. Based in Idaho, but working, most of our effort is on two projects, that being our long-held Eureka project in north central Nevada, which is a classic Carlin gold style system. We have 650,000 ounces of resource defined on that, 501,000 in measured and indicated, 141,000 in inferred, and very large system. It's why I joined the company back in early 2012, and the company had worked and explored on that. It's a classic low-grade system that would be amenable to open pit heap leach development, and so we've done some work on that this year. Again, after some time in the tight markets of not doing any drilling or much surface work, but we've gone back and reviewed a lot of historic data on it, and now have a focus on looking at a high-grade component of that existing resource. And part of our reason to get into that comes through the influence of a new director on our board, David Matheson. Dave has lots of history with majors, as well as some very successful junior discoverers in Nevada, looking at high-grade components related to the classic low-grade open pit heap leachable Carlin style gold systems. And Dave has worked on this. We've recognized some key indicators from his analysis, and it appears that we may have a separate but related system, and effectively it's wide open for expansion. So very excited about that. We did some work also this year down there, doing some gravity surveys, and again compiling some of the historic other geophysical data that pulls the target together very nicely into a coherent area to be tested. That's essentially drill ready. Permitting is effectively done and ready to go. And then our other major effort this year has been further north in the Battle Mountain Eureka Trend, just outside of Battle Mountain, where we've got two properties that we acquired this year from a private entity out of Nevada, and these are porphyry copper gold systems, the very large type deposits that are the world's major sources of copper, and in fact can be huge sources of gold as well. And they're the kind of things like Bingham Canyon in Utah and the large open pits in Arizona. And this is a project that's called Elder Creek. It's been around for a long time. It's got drilling around the periphery, but what most people don't realize is that drilling was all relatively shallow. Very little of it was deeper than a couple hundred meters, and virtually all of it was focused on gold targets, and some very early drilling for copper targets out under pediment back in the 1960s and 1970s. The core of the system effectively has never been drill tested with a significant depth drill hole. So we took a look at this earlier this year and did a transaction to acquire these properties after our own due diligence. It's got all the key indicators of it, zoned alteration, multiple phases of intrusives, they're porphyries they're called. The alteration is right, and the footprint of it is exactly what we would expect. This is an earn-in joint venture deal with McEwen Mining, and we've acquired a very large database from them, which includes geochemical data across soils and rock sampling data over the top of this. Again, very much supports that there's a very large mineralizing system here. So we came in September And through September and October, we drilled on 2 different sites. We started with a drill hole located over a copper oxide occurrence and drilled to 500 feet, mineralized from top to bottom. Inside of that mineralization, we had a zone of 110 feet, 35 meters, something like that, running 0.44% copper, and we believe that's mineralization that is likely to be leachable. So it's a very nice start near surface to what could be a copper oxide development after, of course, much more drilling that will be required. Our second hole, though, is really where we were ultimately seeing this thing as a very, very large opportunity, and we drilled a core hole to about 1,500 feet and intercepted, again, mineralization pretty much from top to bottom. Got into a zone at depth and at about 900 feet, which runs about 650 feet of very anomalous molybdenum, very anomalous copper. All the key indicators of alteration, changes in the mineralogy, and the textures in the rocks are all very favorable. And inside of that zone of anomalous mineralization, we hit an intercept of about 15 meters, runs 1.2% copper, 0.3% molybdenum, which is very high grade, and 0.125 grams gold, and 25.5 grams silver, almost 2/3 of an ounce of silver. Very nice polymetallic intercept. That's the kind of grades that we're really looking for. We drilled that hole before doing any surface geophysical work, which we really had planned and intended, but we couldn't find the industry's been busy, we couldn't find a contractor. Well, a contractor became available in November, so we brought him in. First thing we did is ran an orientation line over that good drill hole, and then some parallel lines. Turns out we have a very coherent anomaly. Runs about 1,600 meters, 1.6 kilometers in length. It's open in both directions. Width of it is about 500 to 800 meters, and it's really open at depth and comes to very, very close to the surface at one end. And on our orientation line, it appears that our drill hole just nicked the edge of what we interpret to be a significant body of mineralized or sulfide mineralization. And so really it's a question at this point of further drill testing and how much metal will it carry. And if it carries the kind of grades like we intercepted in that short section where we nicked that anomaly, we've got something very significant on our hands. And so very excited about the prospects coming up.
And obviously in Nevada, friendly jurisdiction. We don't need to talk about that, but let's talk about the infrastructure. You got some...
It's amazing. You know, we hear a lot about porphyry copper discoveries, and many of them are in the third world or in remote parts of even this continent. This project, the north end of the property is about 1 to 2 miles from Interstate 80. It sits about 12 miles west of the town of Battle Mountain, which is a mining town. There's a high voltage power line that crosses the north end of the property. You can stand on the property and see the power plant at Valmy. And so the infrastructure is there. Transcontinental Railroad, the mineralization, the metallurgy, as we would expect from that, is very simple processing by porphyry copper gold standards. So if we can map out and define a substantial block of mineralization here that we think we've ticked the edge of, this should generate a lot of excitement in the discovery world.
We're surrounded by a lot of opportunities here. It's been a rough 18. I don't think you want to repeat that. Obviously from a share perspective, it doesn't look pretty, but I like to call it somewhat of a de-risked market to a degree.
Sure.
Talk about making it. Talk about being here right now with the opportunity, with what's in front of you.
Yep, you've touched on a couple of the points here already. In my opinion, there's hardly a better jurisdiction in the world than a place like Nevada. This is a place where they build mines. There are amazing discovery opportunities for gold. People don't realize the potential for base metals as well, but they're there as well. So the location is right, the legal framework is excellent. They like mining in Nevada. And where we're at as Timberline, you know, we're like so many companies, we're extremely devalued right now, and so we've got great assets, and I certainly believe, and I remain in the company because I believe in these assets in a big way, and And as we prove up what we have here and turn these into real documented discoveries, I do believe that the path is before us for significant share appreciation.
So as we move into 19 here, I know you're just dying to get back and drill that thing. You have to be, right?
Yep, sure are.
So what's the plan here?
Well, the plan is we do need to raise some more capital, and our first step will be to follow up at Elder Creek. We're so pleased with the results of the geophysical survey, the IP survey, that we really would like to expand that survey and cover the rest of the core area of the property. We've got wonderful targets already defined based on what we've already seen, but there could even be better on this system, and the prospect could be absolutely enormous in size. And so anything we can do to help us focus there is something that we want to do. It's very cost-effective exploration work as well. And then it comes down to follow-up drilling. And we learned a lot in the drilling of our first round. We started with RC. Had some success with it, but we know we need to make some modifications to the technique to be able to use that lower cost method to follow up drill, and then eventually we would do more core drilling. So the real plan is at Elder Creek is finish the geophysics and then get drill rigs back on the ground and complete the initial testing of our target zone. And then actually at Eureka as well. I mean, this is a very, very large system down there, and the targets we've now defined are not low-grade things. They are high-grade things that are becoming more and more common in the various districts in Nevada, and they're being sought by the majors. And so very pleased about the prospects of documenting a further very significant discovery down there as well.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing how this thing goes for you. So, yeah. Steve Osterberg, President and CEO, Timberline Resources, TBR on the venture, TLRS, OTC in the States. Hey, Steve, appreciate the update.
Thank you very much. Grateful.